thanks for tuning in. Today I'm sharing a process video with products I picked out from a bin of Hip Kit Club products that I've had in my stash for a while. I needed a break from all of the holiday and Christmas planning I've been doing. So, in my last video, I will link it down below in the description box. I went through a quick process of picking out papers for this layout. After I filmed that video, I did go into my stash and pull out a few more things. I have a sheet of white cardstock here to mat photos, but I didn't end up using it. I'm also adding in this sheet of pastel orange stripes. This is from an Echo Park Dots and Stripes collection. This came from my scrap drawer. I feel like the color is a good match back to the heart prints on this paper from Hip Kit Club from the Love Always collection. I'm just going to need about 3/4 of an inch, and this will divide the two halves of my layout. Like I said, I didn't end up needing the white cardstock, but I will use a strip of the pastel stripes. I also pulled two additional alphabets from my stash. This is the alphabet from HipKit with the pretty pastel pink colors. I'm adding in this older American Crafts alphabet with the white sketching lines. And I also have a coral doodlebug puffy sticker set in alphabet soup. This will work back to the pastel orange I'm bringing in, and the bright turquoise matches back to the background papers. So far, everything is coordinating perfectly. The main embellishment feature on the page will be these fun canvas fabric pockets from Hip Kit Club. I'm planning to use these as pockets, not just as cute decorations, but also to hold my journaling and some memorabilia. I will manage to get 4 of these on my layout. I also have some enamel dots from Pink Fresh and some puffy stickers from the Chasing Dreams kit. I will pull in other gems and clear drops or glitter drops if I need to. I also have these chipboard stickers from HipKit. These are from the Chasing Dreams kit. And here on my tray, I have two ephemera sets. One is from Pink Fresh, and the other is Chasing Dreams. All of this came from a Hip Kit Club sale. I'm not a subscriber, but I love it when they have their sales. I also pulled a few die cuts from my stash, and I think this will give me plenty to work with. I do already have my title on wax paper, 3 years and counting. These are the photos I'm scrapbooking today. I have two 3x4s printed on this one 4x6 photo. I will trim these down a bit to get them to fit on my layout where I need them. So that's where this layout is going. I'm going to go cut my papers off camera and then I'll come back and show you my design ideas for this layout. Here's what I'm planning for today's layout. There's going to be two halves here with the heart paper on the left and this pink grid paper on the right. The blocks are 5 1/4 inches wide, and I will have all of the measurements in the sketch. Check the description box below for a link to all of my free sketches. This strip of pastel orange stripes will section off each half. My photos will go on the left and the pockets will go on the right. I did go ahead and ink all of the edges of my papers with Hickory Smoke Oxide ink. I didn't want brown or black, so I found this soft gray color and it is just the right amount of color to define all of the edges. It looks like Harley wants to say hi, but I think she's going to stay mostly outside of the camera shot. She's just going to lay down on the edge of my table. If she gets in the way, I'll move her, but if she stays where she is, I'll leave her alone. By the way, thanks to everyone who leaves comments about her when she does make an appearance. She's a cat and she's doing what she wants to do, whether I'm filming or not. I did trim my photos down to get them to fit in this area here. I'm fine with them overlapping a bit, and then I'm going to come in with my pockets and line them up on the pink grid paper. I'm not going to use the pink one because it doesn't show up all that well against the pink background. It looks like I will need to give myself a little more width to accommodate these pockets when I glue the papers down. The pastel orange stripe is overlapping the papers, so I can move that pink grid over just a little bit to give me some more space. I'm going to end up moving these around a bit before I glue them down. I'm just realizing that I'm going to take off the blue gingham one too, as my title is going to go in that space. I'll move these up on the page a bit, and then, like I said, my title will go here. The grid paper isn't too busy, and it looks like my title will show up just fine without any kind of mat. So I'm not going to need the white cardstock for that or for matting my photos. I think the photos show up just fine against the heart pattern paper. I'm going to glue my photos and the papers down and see if I can get Harley to settle on her bed. Here's my layout in progress. I have my papers glued down, my photos are down, and I also added my title. The next thing I want to do is add in my pockets. I have decided on these four, and I just need to figure out where to place them on top of that pink grid paper. I do have a card from the flowers that my husband sent me that's going to go in one of the pockets. I'm showing the card in the pocket on the top left, but I will end up moving it to the pocket on the bottom right. I'll end up adding a die cut later that makes that move necessary. I will be adding some die cuts and labels from the ephemera packs. So let me bring my tray over and find the label that I want for the other bigger pocket. The card that I'm going to use has a light orange border, and that will bring more of that color into my layout. The card fits. I just want to make sure that there would be enough room here with how I have the pockets arranged. And I'm happy with this, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue them down. I'm using wet glue here. A glue runner would be fine if you don't want to use these as actual pockets. If you use a glue runner, anything that you put inside the pockets may come in contact with that tape and have a hard time sliding in and out. The wet glue will give me a stronger bond, so that's what I'm using. I'm just adding a very small bead of glue around the outside border of these pockets. The wet glue does not dry right away, so I will be able to slide these around a bit to get the right placement. But once the glue dries, the pockets aren't going to move. You may want to measure how much room that leaves you if you're using these for pockets. I will end up trimming the memorabilia card from the flower bouquet down just a bit. Once the pocket was glued down, there wasn't as much room and the card didn't fit. It's not a big deal to me. The important part of the card is the sentiment, and I can still read the card. For embellishments, I do really like this vellum heart that I found in my stash. It will add another medium with its see through texture and will act as a cluster base. I want to make sure this fits in the space by the pockets, and then I'll have a better idea for how to fill in with the other embellishments around it. I know I want to glue down this die cut that says my heart is full, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that now. The foundation for this layout, and by that I mean the way I arranged my background papers, splits the layout into two sides, the photos on the left and the pockets on the right. As I continue to embellish, the way I'm looking at it is working with the photos as a big cluster, working on the pockets as another cluster, and then the title spanning across both sides as the third cluster. I want to add this cute die cut that says love you. It's perfect for an anniversary layout. But if I add this with a vellum die cut, I felt like there was going to be some trapped space. So I'm trying to find a shape on the chipboard set. The camera was too big, but I like how the black and white flowers look. They fill in the spot, and there are other black and white flower pieces I can use in other clusters on the layout. I added a bit of glue to the bottom edge of the vellum die cut. That spot will get covered up, so I know that the glue will not be visible through the vellum. This glue dries clear, but I know that people don't often like to use vellum because they don't know how to adhere it and don't want the glue to show. Covering up the adhesive is your best bet if you don't want the glue to show. Other ways I like to attach vellum are stapling it down. That works well. And you can also poke a hole and use a brad with prongs. I found that word together in one of the embellishment packs and thought it would look good beneath the photo. When I glue this down, I'm being careful to cover up the photo edges and not have any of those awkward corners or seams. Luckily, the word is as long as the photo, so it fits perfect. I want to go through this bowl here and see what additional die cuts I could add to the clusters by the title and over on the pocket side of my layout. I pretty quickly found that pastel orange moth. That die cut brings in more orange that I've added in the stripes, so it was a great find. And with that moth, I now have that third place on my layout to add a black and white chipboard flower to make a visual triangle. I mention visual triangles a lot, but I'm not sure I always explain why they're important. When you place embellishments in visual triangles, they help the eyes of the viewer move around the page. If you add clusters to the most important parts of the page, to the photos, the title, and the journaling, your viewer's eyes will move around the page and see the most important parts of your layout. I'm adding the date to that pastel orange tab above the photo. Interesting thing about these photos, they were not taken on our actual anniversary. We spent October 8th getting our house ready for Hurricane Milton. We had to cancel our plans and sat out the hurricane instead. A few weeks later, we went back to where we got married, and that's when we took these photos. But I wanted to use our actual anniversary date. I found two flower die cuts to add to that pocket on the bottom left, and I found a third moth to add to the photo cluster. I was tempted to keep looking for die cuts and adding more, but there's already a lot going on here on this layout, so I'm gonna move on to the finishing touches with the puffy stickers and enamel dots. I just pulled the puffy stickers. There's a small spot between the S and the G in my title where I wanted to add a little something. One of these puffy flowers will fit perfectly. I'm using these enamel dots from Pink Fresh that came in this kit of products. I'm just adding these to various spots around my layout. I feel like the two pink colors and the teal dots were the best match back to my page. I will grab some light orange ones from my stash and add them over on the right side of my layout. Once I get those in place, I go back to the chipboard set to see if there's any other small things I can add. I probably should have stopped, but I never feel like I have enough finishing touches. I found some hearts, so I will add a few of these chipboard hearts around my layout. At this point, I realize I have some green in that pocket on the right side of my layout, but I haven't added anything else green to the page. The papers I chose don't have any green, but because of that pocket, I should add some. I found this phrase that says, "Love this." So I'm adding that to one of the photos. And now that I have two green spots, I should probably find a third spot, right? This arrow with the green stripes will work, and I'm adding that to the bottom cluster. And that gives me a visual triangle of green on the layout. At least these were just small pieces. Sometimes when I start adding, instead of calling it done, I can go overboard and add too much. There are times when I regret that I add things at the last minute, but here I'm pretty happy with these simple green chipboard additions. And lastly, I had pulled out a die cut that says celebrate, and I thought it fit and the colors would work. Not remembering that I was going to put the card from my flowers in the pocket at the top, I end up gluing this word down. And I will also add a few glitter drops in a darker turquoise. After I was finished, I realized that the card was not going to fit in the pocket anymore. It would cover the word celebrate. After I stopped filming, I trimmed down the card and I'm going to move it to the bottom pocket. And my little journaling tag is going to go in the pocket at the top right. And finally, that is where I will call this one done. For this layout, I let the products inspire my design choices. These pockets were fun to have as a main feature on my layout, and they gave me the perfect spot to add the card from the flowers that my husband sent me for our anniversary. Thanks so much for joining me today. I think my next video is going to be a layout share with layouts from the past few months. See you then.